So, people are going crazy because allegedly this game that is being released at the end of the month is going to completely replace Royale High, and then other players are freaking out saying that they're copying Royale High. And I'm here to set the record straight, in my opinion, and talk about this new game because I've seen a lot of people talk about it, but not too many people know a ton about the game, and so I just wanted to discuss it with you guys. Now, with that in mind, please do keep in mind this is just my opinion. You're allowed to disagree with me, but don't take this necessarily as fact because, again, this is just an opinion piece. But with that in mind, for those of you that maybe don't know the game, this game is called Monsterverse. It's a game that's planned to be released at the end-ish of October. Now, I'm sure some of you guys have already seen content for this game, and I'll probably put some on the screen as I'm talking. But it's basically kind of like a school roleplay game. Think of kind of like Monster High, but in Roblox, which I'm super excited for because I'm a total Monster High girly. I love Monster High. It's my absolute favorite show ever. And there's a lot of people that I've seen talking about this game, and there's mixed reactions, which I honestly feel like some of it isn't warranted. Now, before I get really into the video, I do want to quickly clarify. In my last video about Royale High, I did briefly mention Monsterverse, and the amount of comments I got being like,
Monsterverse has drama too, and the owner or somebody actually got into a fight and they had drama and blah 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 blah. Did you look at the document?
babe. Okay, I did look because there's people leaving comments saying that there's a document, there's some drama that happened, and I looked into it because I was like, okay, obviously I don't want to like talk about something that's maybe problematic, but I looked into it, and from like a tweet as recent as September 17th, the person who was apparently involved said it was all resolved. So if it's resolved between them, none of my business, okay? Now, to be fair, I didn't really look that deep into it, so I don't know, but I just kind of was looking at both parties, Twitters, and the documents and stuff like that, and just briefly skimmed over it. And from what I can see, it looks like everything's resolved. And I'm a firm believer, I don't believe in like beating a dead horse. Like, obviously, if the situation's resolved, why would you talk about it? Like, who cares? It's done, right? There's no point in like bringing stuff up. But just to say that, because I know I'll probably get more comments about that in this video, I looked into it. From what I can see in the tweets that I did find, unless there's other ones I didn't find, it looks like it's all resolved. So take a chill pill, okay? Don't come for me again. But anyways, with that in mind, basically this game is like a Monster High type game, and they have a lot of features in this game that a lot of other games don't have. Now, the main point of contention I've seen in like Twitter and TikToks is people crying, being like, this game is copying Royale High, and it's so terrible, like why are they copying Royale High, blah, 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 blah. And what's funny to me is that a year ago, or in 2023, there's another game on Roblox called Astro Renaissance. I don't know if you guys would know about that game, but it was kind of like a space-themed school game kind of a thing. And in that game too, people are always like,
Oh my god, you're copying Royale High, blah 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 blah.
this is what I want to set the record straight about, right? Just because there's one game that is the biggest game in a certain genre does not mean they're the original game. And to be fair, Astro Renaissance was made after Royale High, and Monsterverse was made after Royale High, but Royale High is not like a super original concept, okay? To have a school game where you have princesses and princes and fairies and sparkles and, you know, dress-up features, that's not an original concept. It's not like we're like, oh my god, guys, let's make a game where we pretend to be in a school. And it was some revolutionary idea. Like, this is something that's existed in video game genres for years. And sure, there's things in Royale High that are unique. I'm not saying it's like a boring game or anything like that. But for people to act like Royale High is the only game that's allowed to have a school roleplay or dress-up features or to have some sort of storyline or quests, I think is unreasonable. Now, that in mind, Astro Renaissance, I heard they shut down, but when I made this video, I actually joined the game to check, and it took like 4 minutes, no joke, to load into the game, because I guess previously there was issues with data or something, but I loaded into the game after a while, and there was like 2 people in there, so I'm not sure what happened with Astro Renaissance. Kind of sad because it was a very cute game. But regardless, Monsterverse is basically the next generation of school roleplay dress-up type games. And honestly, I think it is very, very exciting. I don't really agree with people comparing it to Royale High because they just aren't comparable. Yes, they're the same kind of genre, but like Royale High is like princess, sparkles, fairies, and this one is like the complete opposite with like monsters and stuff. So I don't really think it's too comparable. With that in mind, of course, like I've seen like stuff on Twitter, people being like, look at this reception desk, it looks just like Royale High. And I can agree some things maybe look similar, but how different can you make a reception desk, right? Like, how different can you make school doors? How different can you make a campus? Like, there's obviously colors and palettes and textures and stuff you can change, but at the end of the day, every school is going to have a reception area, probably a nurse's office, some classrooms, a cafeteria, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a given, right? So I feel like people saying it's a copy is honestly just unfair in my opinion, because again, Royale High doesn't own exclusive rights to making roleplay school games. Just to put that out there. But with that in mind, Monsterverse has been a game that has been teased for a very long time now, and there are so many features in this game, and I'm not trying to be like a suck up, but genuinely that I think are really, really good. The first thing being the different body types. I think inclusivity and representation is so important, especially for young kids who are playing this type of game, which obviously there will be older people who play, Monsterverse and stuff like that. But a lot of dress up games are more so geared towards younger people and the younger demographic. And so to see someone maybe represent your specific body type, or just to have, more body types in a game really does help to destigmatize beauty standards and make kids feel more included and like show that any body type can be beautiful, obviously, which I think is a very important lesson because a lot of the dress up games you have on Roblox, example, Dress to Impress, which is a great game, but their mannequins are absurdly skinny, long legs. They're just like the typical beauty standard, which can be very harmful. And really, in my opinion, just kind of promotes unrealistic body expectations. And you can say it's not that deep, it's just a Roblox game. But at the end of the day, when you own a big game on Roblox, you're very influential, and obviously there's going to be kids who play your game, and so if you're a kid playing a game all the time and all you see are these skinny models, and they're wearing skinny clothing, and like very tight-fitted stuff, and revealing things and stuff like that, it kind of starts to get to you, and as like a kid who played Roblox and played these kind of games, I can contest to that. I don't know if you guys can, but it definitely kind of impacted my body image when I was always seeing these super skinny Roblox models in any dress-up game, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm not pretty. No, I'm just kidding. I am pretty skinny, but to be fair, like, I just think being that skinny, that tall, that lean is pretty unrealistic, and it definitely kind of skews what kids would think is quote-unquote normal, which is their normal, who knows, but it just kind of normalizes body expectations that I don't think are super accurate or easy to obtain, and so I think that can be harmful, especially to young people. But with that in mind, this game also has accessibility kind of representation. They have ramps in their game. And I mentioned this in a previous video and people are like, who cares? It's a Roblox game, blah, blah, blah. But I think until you've been in a position where you have been, disabled, or maybe you need a walking aid or something like that, to see representation like that in a game is just amazing. And not to get too personal, but at one point in my life, I was in a wheelchair because of some health issues I had. And I remember going around in a wheelchair and realizing, wow, like, the world is so inaccessible, and just the stares I would get when I was in my wheelchair, it was a whole thing. And so to be fair, I think, again, having the representation of having, ramps and stuff in your game may seem like a small detail, but that is really like impactful for somebody who maybe has mobility issues. I'm not trying to be too woke. I'm just saying, as someone who was in a wheelchair for a portion of my life, it's pretty nice to see. It's pretty nice to see. And on top of that, there's also a lot of inclusive, features such as hair color, hair type, curl type, hairstyles, different types of clothing and stuff like that. And genuinely, I'll put some stuff on the screen again as I'm talking, but there are so many things in this game, like customization just seems out of this world. And I've seen a lot of people criticize the game for, saying they're going to release and then pushing it back, and saying they're going to release and pushing it back. But genuinely, I would much rather a game takes their time to make a good, well-rounded game rather than being kind of like a Royale High type game where they just push an update when it's not ready and there's bugs and there's glitches and things aren't working and people aren't getting XP or diamonds and stuff like that. I definitely think slow and steady wins the race, and to, have enough respect for your player base to want to make the best game possible for them, I think is a really good indicator that this game is going to be a good game on Roblox. Now, with that in mind, I did see a tweet by the game, which they're on Twitter, where basically they put out a post saying that it was on September 30th, I think, and they said 25 days or something, the game was going to be open to everybody for beta. So keep in mind, it's not completely finished. It's beta, so there will be some glitches, because I know the second that game comes out, people are going to be complaining, oh, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. Do you know what beta means? Sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but I just always see that. It makes me angry. But I don't know if it's going to be, I guess, October 25th, or if they're including September 30th, or whatever. But this is going to come out just before Halloween, which I definitely do think that's the perfect timing for this, because obviously it's a game focused on monsters, and what better season to release it in than Halloween? You know what I mean? Of course, again, I just finished talking about how it's good they're taking their time. Personally, I think a lot of games wait a little bit too close to Halloween to do their updates. But I do think if they were to release it on the 24th or 25th, that is still like enough time for kids to like play the game before Halloween. And I'm not going to say the game's going to fall off after Halloween, but kids are especially looking for Roblox like monster themed games right before the season. And so I definitely think that's going to give them a huge spike and a really great time actually to release their game, because they're going to have a spike from players being excited that their game is releasing. And on top of that, players are going to find the game organically by searching Halloween content. So in my opinion, I think that's the perfect release date, and hopefully it all goes to plan. I really do hope. But I have been looking at this game for months now, And I'm just in love, and I'm so excited to try it out. I was thinking, when it does release, I should try making like a werewolf, because my VTuber's a cat. In case you couldn't tell, there is a tail, but I find it's like distracting, and when I record, I just keep looking at the tail. But some people said I was a wolf. I'm definitely not. But I think the werewolf outfit would look kind of similar to my VTuber model, and so I really do want to try that out when the game comes out. But anyways, with that in mind, addressing the last final elephant in the room, will this game replace Royale High? Now, in my opinion, I don't necessarily know if the word replace is the right word, but maybe the word to use here would be, would it maybe drive some traffic away from Royale High? I definitely do agree with that. You know, anytime something's new, regardless of if it's a good game or not, players will kind of flock to that game to see it and see what it's all about, especially when the game has been so highly anticipated, such as Monsterverse. But with that in mind, I don't think a game necessarily, like, people always throw around the narrative that, oh, it's gonna steal Royale High's player base. Royale High doesn't own the people that play its game. And Royale High didn't say this, just to clarify, but there's people saying it, so I was just gonna repeat that. But Royale High doesn't own their player base. Players have the freedom to play tons of games, and at the end of the day, players can play 2 games at once. They can play Monsterverse, then get off and go play Royale High. That's pretty typical. And I know more so, especially when Royale High doesn't have updates, a lot of players will just log in for like 5 minutes to do their daily tasks and to spin the wheel and, you know, to claim their daily reward, and then they log off. So if you have a new game where it has maybe some more gameplay features, some quests, some new things, I think it is reasonable to assume that maybe Royale High might see a decrease in their player base, but I think long term it will really depend on how much Monsterverse is updating their game versus Royale High. Royale High did just release a update with Mermaid Tales, I believe, and that has really increased their player base. But with that in mind, if they do this update and then just you hear nothing for a couple months, right? Whereas Monsterverse maybe has update, not saying they will, but you know what I mean? If they have a more consistent update schedule, right, then players can be more drawn to that sort of game because there's constantly new things, and players want to do new things. They don't want to just be stuck in a loop of farming for diamonds and competing in pageants and dressing up and then just over and over and over again, right? And so when a game has updates and quests and seasonal things, especially when it's timed, like a Halloween update, a Christmas update, stuff like that, that is definitely going to drive traffic. So would I say that Monsterverse is going to replace Royale High? I don't know, but do maybe Royale High players, may they feel a little bit more appreciated and may they be a bit more drawn to a game that is more active than their previous game? I definitely do agree with that. But to be fair, only time will tell. Of course, Monsterverse isn't out yet. It's still, you know, waiting to be released until the end of the month. But with that in mind, let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this. Again, I'm not trying to I don't know what the word is for this. I'm not trying to suck up to them or anything like that. I just generally do like this game. I wasn't paid to say this. This is just something that I've seen on Twitter, and once I saw it, I was like, wow, this looks like a really fun game. And the more I looked into it, the more I was like, okay, yeah, this is on my to-do list for October. But anyways, let me know if you guys will play this in the comment section below, and maybe what your most anticipated feature is of this game. Also, let me know if you think it will replace Royale High. I think the narrative of one thing being better than the other or one thing replacing something else can be toxic at times. Players can enjoy both games, but I definitely do think, depending on what game updates the most, it's probably the game that most players will end up playing more time in. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!